And still with us, Mr. Peter Tanous, to help us unpack the implication of this new Gulf pragmatism. And Mr. Tanous, back to you again. And Trump's tour delivered historic sums of investment, but at what costs to traditional U.S. diplomatic leverage?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Mona? Sorry, I didn't get that.
Again. Let me hear. Trump tour delivered a historic sum of investments, and that we have seen all. But at what costs to traditional U.S. diplomatic leverage?
It's very interesting. So on this subject, let's talk about his recent trip to the Middle East, which in my opinion was enormously successful on many different levels. Uh, as you pointed out in the introduction, the China was making great inroads in the Gulf area, and the United States had to counter that. Trump went over on a basically transactional trip where he did a whole bunch of business deals that will, frankly, favor both sides. Will favor the Arab countries that did them, and it will favor the United States businesses. And on top of that, he made diplomatic overtures that most presidents were very reluctant to make. He talked to the new Syrian president, lifted the sanctions on Syria. He's currently engaged in peace negotiations with Iran to do a nuclear energy deal. So these have been very, very positive aspects on U.S. foreign relations.
You spoke here about lifting the sanctions from Syria. Now, that was made with no conditions. So do you see this as a strategic recalibration or a kind of transactional misstep?
Yeah, and again, I'm sorry, Mona, but I didn't get most. I didn't understand
Right,
most
you
of your.
spoke about lifting sanctions on
Yes.
Syria. So, and that were made with no conditions, without conditions. So, do you see this as a strategic recalibration or a transactional misstep?
Yeah, it's both. Now, first of all, there are conditions. The lifting of the sanctions was temporary. Like most of the other things he's done, there was a deadline to them. And it's essentially a message to Syria, let's see how you behave while the sanctions are lifted. And if we, the United States, consider that you're doing the right thing for Syria and for the region, and peace in the region, then the sanctions will stay lifted, and we want to help Syria rebuild. He's essentially delivering the same message to Iran. If we make a deal, we're going to help Iran's economy enormously by lifting sanctions that have hurt Iran tremendously. And if we don't make a deal, oh, by the way, Israel may bomb you. So this is how these negotiations are going, which are very different from those in the past.
Trump's approach was well received in Riyadh. Now, how do you interpret this posture in the context of past U.S. Middle East policy?
I mean, it's pretty much a step in the right direction. I mean, yes, Trump is very transactional, and these deals will benefit both Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and the United States. As you pointed out, some of these approach $1 trillion in transactions. And at the same time, as we pointed out, the president is making diplomatic overtures to some of the enemies that we've had in the past. So uh, as far as I'm concerned, I view this very positively as a step in the right direction, and hopefully, we're going to start seeing some of the positive effects of this in the coming weeks.
Now, with over $2 trillion pledged, many wonder whether U.S. foreign policy is now for sale. How valid is that concern?
Yeah, it's an issue, but not an important one. The fact that we're doing business deals that advantage both countries is favorable. Any way
Both
you want.
countries, you're speaking here advantage both sides.
Yes, indeed.
Right.
Uh,
In which way is it benefiting
okay,
the other side or the Middle East side of the story here?
sure. Um, let's take Saudi Arabia, for example. Saudi Arabia is under its, frankly, visionary leadership, is doing its best to expand its economy away from its single source of income of the past, which obviously is oil. And it's doing it by adopting to some of the great technologies of the future. Saudi Arabia is very interested in artificial intelligence. The United States makes the most uh, productive artificial intelligence chips in the world. And there's a deal on the table to help the Saudis by allowing us to export to the Saudis some of our most important chips.
So you will export to the Saudis the chips and the technology, but you will not give them the know-how of it, right?
No, no, the Saudis will have what they need to help develop their AI. There will be some defense and some security issues, of course, but basically this deal will advantage the Saudis and will allow them to pretty much to do what they want to do and help them develop. So this is an answer to your question of
Mm,
how it helps the Saudis.
right.
Uh, Similarly for the UAE, which has similar advantages, and of course for the United States, huge purchases of defense equipment, Boeing airplanes, which is going to help the U.S. and employ a lot of workers.
Indeed. Do you believe Trump's absence from Israel and Iran in this visit suggests a new set of regional priorities?
Yeah, again, I think you said I'm not sure I understood the question. Sorry, Mona.
Again, let me repeat that. Do you believe Trump's absence from Israel and Iran in this visit, particularly Israel,
Yeah,
suggests a
well, I
new
mean,
set of regional priorities?
yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I'm glad you brought that up. The fact that he snubbed Israel on this trip when Israel very much wanted to have him visit tells you another part of the story. The United States is not happy with Israel on many different levels. And that obviously is a completely other subject. But it's important that the President of the United States had the courage to do that. Obviously, he's not going to be visiting with Iran. He's got his Secretary of State and other negotiators who are already where they're already meeting as we speak to talk about a possible Iran deal. Hopefully, something positive will come of that. There is a problem with that issue because the Iranians fear that the United States wants them to give up entirely on nuclear energy, which they're not willing to do.
Mm,
But the Iranians have signaled that they are willing
mm.
to give up any ability to make an atomic weapon, which is really the primary concern. So we've got to
Uh,
hope that something will be worked out.